Okay, this is the first question from Barry. Okay, so Barry's looking for advice on dowsing for gold, both remotely and on site, as he lives and travels near good gold deposits. He's mapped dowsed an area near Georgetown in Queensland, and a friend dowsed a location within 0.6 of a kilometre independently from him. So he needs to dowse on site and then use a metal detector. Any advice would be helpful. Has anybody searched for gold? I've had to go panning for gold, but it was in a river in Wales.
We help this gentleman.
Do you want to have a chat more about it, Barry?
Yeah, what I'm led to believe is that, and this is probably one of the questions I had, when you dowse for gold, whether you need to have some gold attached to the pendulum in some way, where you hold it. With the map dowsing, I know there's people in Australia who do the remote dowsing for different minerals and including gold. But I just wonder if anyone had any experience with it. I think once I get to a site, there is a site I'm going to go to. I won't go until next year because the weather, today it's going to be about 35 degrees here, and it'll get worse. I'm in Brisbane at the moment, but where I was talking was up North Queensland, central North Queensland, where there's good gold fields. And what I intend doing is going up there with a caravan, spend a few weeks up there, and then dowse on the map, then dowse on site, and then use a metal detector to refine it. And possibly you don't need a metal detector, but just using the dowse, just using the pendulum or rods might be enough. So until I try it, I'll keep you informed on that next year. So I'm actually flying to London on Monday, and next year I'll look at coming over to one of your conferences. I'm sure there's people who attend your conferences who have done this. So
we've got a chap in North Wales called Peter Taylor, and I know he is dowsed for gold.
Okay.
He uses a witness, as you suggest. Yeah, sometimes he puts it inside the pendulum. But whatever he dowses for, he uses a witness, mostly for water. He uses a little phial of water on a string and uses that as a pendulum. He concentrates his mind on the water, and also he puts a little phial of water on his rods, or on his L rods, or even his Y rods, and that helps him focus his mind on what he's looking for. So definitely, a witness would be good.
Yeah.
With the metal detector, I don't know how deep do they go. A friend of mine's got one. He said it only goes 6 inches.
Oh, the ones it depends on how much you pay. You can go down 2 meters, but you can't. In that really heavy metal, where there's a lot of rock and that in the country, you can't dig much more than half a meter with ease. And but most people who pick up gold seem to get it at about 300 mil or a foot. So, but just the metal detector will define it right down to the item. But I've got a piece of, I don't know, see that that's a small gold nugget, which I've got quite a few gold nuggets from different areas. Apparently they have, depending on where the gold comes from, they can tell where it comes from. They're different in their from their location. But that little piece is only a few grams, but it's I'll pay about $200 for it, so it's probably worth more now. So anyway, that's good that someone, you mentioned that someone has used as a witness, so that I'll try that next time I go, and possibly use, I know about using the biometer. I actually use I don't have a, I'm going to learn to use a biometer, but I've got this little card which is pretty worn now. It's just the number, the alphabet and the numbers, and then a rating on the back, which is for checking products. Like if I go into the supermarket, I'm not sure about the goodness of products for your health. I just pull that out and run it by the with my pendulum, which you got to be a bit careful. People don't stare at you. So
Yeah.
I was just thinking.
David's got a question. Dave, do you want to come in?
Yeah, Barry, how far have you gone into kind of connecting to the frequency of gold? What do you understand gold to be?
Oh, video.
well, it's
Oh,
I channel, and when I was channeling, I asked for questions, and or not questions, but one of the things I just get fed information. I actually wrote a book. Wasn't my book, but it was called "I Am," in inverted commas, "We Are God," and in part of that channeling, I got a whole story on gold, and it said it's a very wild frequency, and there's a reason that both humans have been obsessed with trying. It's sort of been so sought after, not only by humans but other alien races, if you believe that. So it's the frequency, and the friend who dowsed the map, it's only last week I had dowsed this Georgetown area where I'd just been a few months ago, and a friend of mine, she uses a pendulum, but when I showed her the map, a different map, and she just ran her hand over it, she didn't use a pendulum, but she does use a pendulum, but she picked up a spot on the same map within about 0.6 of a K from where I found the deposit. So it'd be an area of about half a square kilometre, which is not a big area to go with a metal detector. So
Much quicker if you can get your rod to take you to the interesting points. But to my understanding, gold is what's left from bacteria eating or breaking down quartz crystal. Yeah, so it's basically bacteria shit, which has since been compressed and heated and ended up in a solid form, which is maybe why it has a sort of wild frequency. It has a frequency, it has if you do what I did, it would have a color. And looking into that further, the color also relates to a musical note. So you could ask for the frequency of gold, or you could ask for the energetic color released from gold, or you could ask for the musical note released from gold. Well, there's lots of different ways. Try different ones. One of them might work better for you than just a number or a. But it
thanks for that.
Really is about focusing, getting your focus really intently on what gold is actually, and then finding it, asking your rods to guide you to it.
Yeah, while you're speaking, I'm running the pendulum over that card, and I'm getting the frequency. You're right about the frequency and the color, of course, the spectrum of light. But there's also a scent connected, a smell connected to every frequency as well, I found.
Yes.
But it's talking, what I'm getting is 450, around the 450 mark as being the hertz. So I'll go further with that. Thanks very much. It's something I hadn't thought of. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Mary, when you're phrasing your dowsing questions, are you looking for nuggets of gold or are you looking for particles of gold?
Well, that's the other thing, because in these areas, that area of Georgetown is actually reef gold, and the next town to that, 150k away, Croydon, is actually alluvial gold. So they're totally different, or to search for them is different. But I have been targeting nugget because they're going to be more what I'm after. So.
Well, they're going to be easier to find without having to pan for it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, they're definitely, you've got to be specific with your questions, I find. But that's good. That both the witness and the mention about the frequency is something I hadn't thought of. So I had thought about the witness, but not about the frequency. So I'll do that. Thanks. I'll let you know, and might be able to donate a nugget to the
society. Yeah, yeah. I'll send you the bank details.
Okay. No, there's tax. They tax it over here, so I'll send you the nugget. Not you can cash it.
Yeah, that'll do. Yeah,
being not for profit, you'll probably be tax free.
Yeah, brilliant. Bring it with you. Yeah. Okay. Do you want to go to the next question then, Barry?
Yes.
Here's a question. Question from Ali.
It's the question I had there. I've been
Sorry, Ali wants to ask a question.
Oh, it's okay.
Well, it can wait. It can wait until Barry's asked his following question. It's quite general, and you may want some thinking time anyway. So if I ask it now, then you've got some time to think if you need while Barry asks his next question. It was something I was thinking about during the last session when Graham Waite asked his question about the lithium mine in Huelva in Spain, and we're talking about mining for gold, or dowsing for gold now. And if I could have some credibility by mentioning the glossary of the British Society of Dowsing terms, in which I think Graham Gardner is in control of at the moment. It's just that we've mentioned it before, but never really had a good conversation about it. I'm bothered about the devic beings there, or the spirit of place, and in fact well, I don't know if I should call it the BSD glossary of terms, or whether it was first Billy Gaughan's and now Graham Gardner's glossary of terms. It says for earth spirit of place, or genius loci, it's a as far as we can use words to define things, a manifestation found in a particular place, often a natural setting such as a grove of trees or a stone circle, and it is considered to be the guardian or controlling spirit of that location, and it is recommended that proper respect be given to it when visiting the area, and permission gained before entering the site. And I just wondered how dowsing for the Earth's resources ties in with getting the permission of what might go by the name of site guardian, or the spirit of place, and whether it's something that's been overlooked. Think about it once. And whether permission would be given if it was asked. I don't know. Is that a very difficult question?
No, it's not a difficult question, Ali. It's a very, yeah, I would agree with you that when doing anything like that, it'd be important to get permission and to respect the the location. So that just goes along with the picking up the rods or picking up your pendulum. Is you have to have a protocol really to follow, and providing you're following the protocol and that sort of thing, then I assume that things are favourable should you be given permission. And I would, it's good practice for whenever we pick up the pendulum or the rods, is just to go through those three questions. May I, can I, and shall I? So yeah, it's a good point you make, and it can be overlooked, of course, but it's just good practice. Barry, would you agree with that?
I agree. Yeah. I hadn't thought about that either, and because when I'm, dowsing for even water, probably good to go through that process before you start. Yeah.
I was going to. What came to mind, Barry? There, I don't know. It's maybe a bit too simplistic, but it might be an idea for you to practice before you go to the site, and dig a couple of holes in your garden, put your nugget in there, and see about the response that you get, because you might find that your body itself has a response to gold. And if you become in tune with that response, then when you go to site, there's potential that it becomes more accurate for you. Having gone through the process of sort of, although it's being hidden by yourself, but you'll still have a sense, perhaps, of a feeling, maybe, or whatever. So a bit of practice prior to going might be an idea.
I'll take that on board. Yeah.
I did. The reason I'm saying that, I did a class a couple of years ago with a group of people dowsing, and they couldn't get any movement on rods. And I took them to a stream, and we had walk over the bridge of the stream, and they started to witness the effect of the water on the rods. And once they knew what they were looking for, it became easier for them then to go where they couldn't see water and get a response and reaction from the rods.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. I'll add that to my list of learning. So.
It's just Now, they also regards that, Barry, it's not my forte at all, is the elements and stuff like that. But I do have, you mentioned it in your question, there's the Principles and Practice of Radiesthesia by Abbie Mehmet.
Okay. Yep.
That book there.
All right. I haven't seen that one.
I think that's an Andrew's question, George.
It's what, sorry?
I think it's an Andrew's question.
Oh, is it? Oh, sorry. Oh, right. I apologise for that, Richard. Sorry about that. I was going to say that in that book there's a chapter on finding gold.
Okay. Yep. Thank you.
And as David gives off a frequency, it also gives a ray. There's a ray comes off it, and depending on which time of day you're doing it, the ray will change direction.
Ah. Yep.
So there's a whole load of things that you might want to consider with that.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Yep. That's good.
My experience of going to a site and not asking permission is that it will quite often bite you in the bum in some way. In my case, I got a sting by a wasp on the top of my head when I went into a space where I didn't have permission to go. It was only subsequently that I found out that the reason I got the sting was because I didn't have permission to go into the space. I was working with two other energy workers, and it was their job to go into that space and my job to stay outside. So you do sometimes get a quite harsh warning that you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. So always good to ask permission.
I totally agree with you, Peter, on that. Absolutely, 100%. Bite on the backside, it certainly can. So it's good to have that protocol to follow.
Great. Go on to the next question, Barry.
Yes, thank you. Yep.
I'll just share the screen again. Here's the next question. Diagnosed with cancer last April and responding to conventional as well as many alternative treatments. The question is, how do you use the biometer? Can you use it to gauge recovery progress, and can you use it to identify the best treatments for your metabolism and body type? And thank you us for doing the service. You're very welcome. Okay, George.
Whoa, blimey, that's a big one. There's a lot involved certainly in that. And the simple response is yes, you can use the biometer, Barry, for gauging your response and certainly other aspects of it. Giving a sort of general opinion on that, I would say that maybe I'm maybe going to open up a can of worms here, but am I allowed to?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I've got a particular take on cancer, and it's born out of an understanding and awareness of certain aspects of it. And it all comes from my knowledge on that, any knowledge I have on that, all comes from a particular website, which, if you're happy enough, I would share that to you all.
Yep.
Yes, please.
Yeah, it's called Learning German New Medicine. Called Learning German New Medicine.
Say that again, George.
Learning German New Medicine.
Is this the homeopathic way of using symbols, George?
No, Peter, it's not.
Okay.
Do you have some knowledge of the symbol work?
No, I've only heard of it. I don't have any knowledge of it.
All right. It's very interesting as well. So, just if I can very, very briefly give you a resume of it, because it's a massive topic, and just to give you an out. I think with people that are involved in dowsing and people that are involved in healing, cancer inevitably comes up for people. If you're working as a healer or as an energy worker, you're going to run into people who have cancer and in their life at that particular time. So it's pertinent probably to most of us. So I hope we're okay just to speak about it. We'll all have probably our own experiences of cancer within family and friends, etc., etc. So I don't mean to be disingenuous or anything like that to sharing some of the information. So I hope that it will be well received, basically. The German New Medicine model was a model that I was introduced to about 12 years ago, and it's a very simple aspect about cancer, and the overall aspect of it. We actually, as a sort of coming at it from the medical point of view, we don't understand it. But there's a very simple explanation for cancerous growth, and that is it's a natural response within the body. And it's actually, at the end of it, is part of the healing process within the body. And that can be a bit difficult to hear because we're told all our lives that the growth of a tumour or the growth of cancer, etc., is the body attacking itself, or what's gone wrong with my body? Why is this happening to me? Well, the reverse of that is actually your body's actually working in exactly the right way. And the explanation given to cancer within German New Medicine is that when we as individuals have a conflict in our lives, the conflict that we experience, which has to be one that we weren't expecting. So it's an unexpected experience in our lives. And when we experience that, we are, as part of our evolution, we're determined to respond in a particular way. So the occurrence happens, we witness something occurring, and that impact of what we witnessed, that what we didn't expect, impacts on us immediately at the time that we've experienced it. It impacts in the psyche, in the brain, and in the body. And what it does is, where I've used it, this whole paradigm, this whole idea, is that the impact on the brain can be detected through frequency change in particular regions of the brain. So when we are impacted by something we're not expecting, a conflict of some sort, what we witness has got the potential to the frequency of a part of a brain. Now that part of the brain, through its embryologic, through the natural embryological cycle that we all go through, is the control center for a particular part of the body, i.e. it could be the muscles, it could be the lungs, it could be the some of the heart tissue, it could be the kidney, it could be whatever it is. But there's different areas of the brain which relate to each area of the body. So what we find happening is we witness a conflict which we're not expecting. The impact of that registers in a part of the brain. That part of the brain raises the frequency or lowers the frequency, and the frequency from the control center to the part of the body that control center governs alters. Now, the body can only do one of two things. It can only make more of something or make something. Within illness, it will either reduce something or it will cause something to grow. And what I've witnessed I've witnessed that whole paradigm with people I've worked with, identifying the part of the brain, identifying the subsequent location of where the frequency runs to in the body, i.e. the organ or the body part, and in consequence with the diagnosis. Now, if I can give you a very quick example, and it is only an example, a very quick example of what I'm talking about. So we have a diagnosis, somebody has a diagnosis, say, of lung cancer. Okay? We look at that and look at it, right, the lung's gone wrong. The lung's gone wrong. We need to cut the tumour out or whatever. Or, you know, what's gone wrong? Why has this happened to me? Or blah, 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 blah. German new medicine looks at the lung from the point of view of the embryological makeup and our body as an environment. And so the lung's about breathing. Now, when something goes wrong with the lung, and i.e. the growth in the lung, i.e. lung cancer, lung tumor, then that person, German new medicine says that person will have experienced a conflict shock whereby their life is in danger at some point through asphyxiation or drowning. So within the mind of the body, we're thrust into a situation whereby there's conflict, i.e. we can't get a breath and we struggle to breathe. We're designed to survive. The body's designed to survive. So it switches on the control center to the lung to tell the lung, you have to be more. You have to be more. And what we invariably see is that as regards to a conflict occurring, depending on the type of conflict, determines the area of the body which is then affected by the growth or otherwise, either the growth or the demise of a particular area. Now it sounds incredulous to actually have that as any sort of a basis. It sounds like, but for me, when I first came across this, I heard about it about 12 to 14 years ago. And although I'm not trained in German new medicine, I've read extensively about it. And I started to incorporate the whole idea into my about frequencies of the brain. And I've found out on numerous occasions that actually that theory, its theory actually is endorsed. That's my experience. Now, what is important to understand is that if that mechanism isn't switched off, so the person remains in what they call a death fright conflict, the body is in the shock of the conflict, and the information runs from that part of the brain to the body part. Recognition, awareness of that whole scenario by the individual switches the frequency of the brain part back to normal. So the awareness, the recognition, and the accounting of a particular conflict is enough to switch the control panel of the brain back to the frequency whereby which is not, well, I would say which is normal, which is regular.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
I don't want to interrupt you. I just wondered if it was appropriate to ask you a question.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. I was hoping somebody would. I mean,
Because I'm interested in what you're saying, because I'm sort of into health and wellness. So it's a big, that's where my passion lies. I was just interested, are we talking about a conscious reaction or an unconscious one?
unconscious reaction.
Okay. And it would have to be a reaction and not a response, because otherwise it's sort of like it's an automated.
Yes.
Yeah.
Automate within us all.
Yeah.
To respond in that way to the conflict, because it's about survival of us. It's about your body is wanting you to survive.
Okay.
So it's giving you the means to do that. It's creating the means for us to do.
May I share? There was a theory put forward to me some time ago about when something happens to us that we don't want to happen to us, we are preventing the flow. So it's our reaction. So this is why it's stimulating that for me a little bit, which is why, if it's okay, I just wanted to talk to you about it. So all the while things are happening to us that we're quite happy to happen to us, then the flow, the life force, for want of another expression, is flowing without interruption. And it reminds me of the acupuncture wheel, where it's where that flow is interrupted in some way that dis-ease manifests. So what the theory that was presented to me was that when we are confronted with something that we don't want to happen to us, which could fall into the category of place us into a place of conflict, it was something you wasn't expecting, I suppose, and something that you were perhaps definitely having a negative, not a positive reaction to. What they say is that we would then go into a frozen charged state. The flow stops. I don't know, but this is what's coming through my mind as you're talking, and how there is some similarity with regards to whether you are going to welcome something or whether you are going to resist it. Am I making any? I don't know whether I'm, because you could say that things are happening to us all the time. And it's those things that create conflict. Those things that we resist are the things that create the problem. I don't know. Can I just leave that on the table?
Very, very well put. Yes. Yeah.
Can I just add a little bit here too?
Yeah, sure.
I think we all come in with certain cellular memory weaknesses of things that have happened to us in the past. And they leave us with traces of weaknesses, and we develop further weaknesses in this life. And everybody will be targeted wherever they're weakest. That is, I think, what this original weakness that you're talking about goes back to. But then we have the triggers. We have the things that happen to us. And when I did Jack Temple's course, he used to say, well, we have these carcinogens, and it's when you have 3 overlapping in a certain area that you actually begin to get cancer. There is normally a parasite involved. There is normally an emotion involved, and there's normally chemical or whatever, and stresses, and there's lots of other things that can be there. But you have these 3 overlapping things. But they target people in different areas depending on what their original weaknesses are. And that is what I think you're referring to, the going back to the original. Why are we so weak? What is that cellular memory for? you know, that makes us weak in a certain area and somebody else develops it in another area. Now, I think you can target it and treat it in many different ways. You can either go back to the original and sort out that weakness, which then helps things to kind of go, or you can kind of remove the triggers and get those to move back a stage. Or, you know, there's lots of different ways and different levels at which to treat this, basically. But ultimately, if people have got carcinogens in them, if that weakness is treated and goes, but they've still got the carcinogens there, there's still a possibility that they'll find another weakness. You know, it's like spinning plates. You know, you get that one going, and then that one, oh, the one over there is gone. You know, yeah. Does that make sense, people? Sorry. Okay.
Yes, it makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah. Yes, it does.
I mean, we're all helping whichever way we're shown how to help for the best and highest good of the person involved.
The beauty behind the German New Medicine model is that, with the understanding of it, is that should we be diagnosed with cancer or should we have cancer, then that diagnosis alone can be quite hard hitting, I would imagine. But if we understand from the point of view of the embryology of the body,
Okay.
through the process that I've taken you through, if we understand that and we're aware of that, then it means that the aspect of fear, the fright in that diagnosis need not be there.
Okay.
And that's huge for people, because it's the you know, changing perception from, okay, it's my body working in the exact way that it was designed to changing from that to oh, what's wrong with me, and blah 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 blah. The vibration, your ability to hold your vibration at the level that's required for healing to take place is very much more enhanced.
Well, it is a wake-up call, really, anything like that. You know, your body has the response of temperature, inflammation, or whatever, and it's your body showing the symptoms and saying, oi, there's a problem here, wake up and do something about it. You know, and people either wake up and take responsibility and try and look and start from the source, or they go to the doctor for a quick pill or a quick fix, which actually doesn't get to the basics, to the actual source.
But I think are you suggesting it's about the psychological implications of being given such news? George?
Are you speaking?
Yes, sorry. Are you what you
Well,
the last thing you said, are we talking about the sort of psychological implications of someone giving you a diagnosis of cancer, I suspect? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we're inundated with cancer stories. We have been all our life, and something that none of us ever welcomed, basically. And how different might it be if we're aware of the process that's going on in the body? Should German New Medicine be, you know, should it be truth, if you like? How different would that be if we're unlucky enough to be given a diagnosis of cancer, to actually understand it's actually my body working in the perfect way?
So can I ask you, George, sorry, we're both so George, do you dowse for a specific part of the brain that links into the specific organ to give you? Okay. Would you mind sharing that? Or?
Yeah, there's the different parts of the brain that I look into are the cerebral medulla, the stem, the cerebellum, and the 5 different cortexes. There's 5 different cortexes run across. If you cut the top of your head off and looked in and saw the brain, then the iconic picture of the brain, that's the cortex that we're seeing, and that's split into 5 different areas. And you have the other areas. They have the cerebellum, you have the cerebral medulla, and you have the brain stem. Now, within all these different areas are what they call brain relays. So each of these areas holds the dynamic for the control of a particular part of the body.
Yeah.
Now, the cerebral medulla and the stem and the cerebellum and the cortex all have a frequency where normality is eminent.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can identify through the frequency which of these they're called brain relays, which of these compartments has changed frequency, that then gives you the way to understand what the conflict is, what the shock is that that person experienced. Because the shock determines where the type of shock determines which relay it impacts.
Yeah.
So once we identify the brain relay that's changing frequency, it narrows down the type of circumstance that person has experienced.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And when you do that, you can then say to the person, you can then speak to the person about, tell me about the time that you, and the very recognition, the account of that story, that person might not link it to the diagnosis.
Yeah.
But the very account and recognition of that experience has got the effect of switching the frequency in the brain relay within one of these compartments.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So changing the information from the brain to the part affected within the body.
So the previous experience and the diagnosis, if I'm hearing you correctly, are linked. The moment of diagnosis where you're told is you could just say places you into a position of shock.
Sorry, no, that has a further impact, Yasmina.
Oh, okay.
So that in itself has another impact.
Okay.
So that's a secondary. That can be a secondary aspect.
Okay.
That somebody that's already being diagnosed, or somebody that's already in that process of growing a tumour within the body, they're then impacted on a second time with the diagnosis.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
George, could I just give you a minute?
Yeah, so by all means.
George. Two things. I've got a weak internet connection, so if I pop off, I've made Suman the co-host, and
Okay.
so that'll keep the meeting running. Also, could I bring in David, because he's had his hand up for a while?
Of course.
Okay, David.
Yes. So thank you. Brave discussion, cancer. I've never ventured onto this one on any of my Zoom ones, but it's with energy viewing, which is the ability to see energy in colour in your mind's eye. Basically, you can look into people or pets or trees or the ground or wherever you want to look. And if somebody has cancer, and I've been seeing this for about 25 years now, it's the energy disturbance isn't necessarily always fully in the body, because it's quite often emotional disturbances through programming, misaligned programs. Like, you're right, it does come from the brain, but the programming creates an emotional response which the body seems to store, sometimes just outside of it. And one of the most common ones that I've found is breast cancer, and it is ladies later on in life who have had an emotional conflict within them to do with their parents. So that the parents didn't really kind of accept them for who they are, and they tried to make them something different, or so it's a personal power issue. And if you relate to the chakra thing,
Heart center.
the yellow, right? Personal powers are kind of a yellow, but that's what I see, and that's what anybody else who learns how to do it sees. They would see the same sort of yellow energy, normally stored somewhere around the front of the body where it clips back in. That bit of the body is no longer being supported by the correct energy. Okay, it goes into a different frequency, different hertz. It's instead of the about, for sake of arguments, we'll go 8 hertz, which is about the frequency of the Earth, which is what we're supposed to be about at. It goes into a lower frequency, a lower color, and because that tissue is then being supported by the wrong frequency, it goes into chaos, and then you end up with cancers. And I've seen that in breast cancer and bone cancer and blood cancer and a couple others, but not always the same colors, but it is always where the body is being supported by the wrong frequency. But the emotions can do that, and it doesn't really store it in the brain. The brain creates the emotion and then dumps it around the body. But it comes from the programming, which is the kind of source of it. If it's emotional, but then it can be food related. If you keep poisoning yourself with the wrong food, you end up with the wrong energy in certain places, and you end up with something like bowel cancer or something in the digestive system going wrong. Or it can be an impact. If you've had an impact, a crash, and the crash has left an energy which you've not managed to get rid of, it's been stored in the body for years and years, that again will cause a cancer. So it all, yeah, I agree, it is all to do with the frequencies of the body, but I kind of see it slightly differently.
Thanks, David. It's very insightful, very good. Yeah, and if you've got that particular, if you have that particular skill, to be able to see these colours, and you say everybody can, so I accept what you say, but that'll be.
We'll get together one day, George, and I'll show you. But may I ask Andrew? It was Andrew who put the question, wasn't it?
Barry.
Barry?
Yeah, Barry.
Yes.
So you've developed cancer?
Yeah, I got prostate cancer, and then it's metastasized to the bones in the back to stage 4. And I've done about 3 months of hormonal injection, and it was in the back, and the worst part of my back where the bone cancer was, I actually fell through a roof about 40 years ago and landed on my back on the concrete. And that was the worst part of my back, of the cancer. And the other part was on my left.
The impact energy stored.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the left femur, where I carry my mobile phone, was the other part that it manifested. So the prostate cancer is actually, the cancer in my bones is prostate cancer. So that, I think it's pretty well cleared from the bones. I'll find out in a few months when I have a PET scan again. But with regard to breast cancer, my wife died from breast cancer, left breast. And I think Louise Hay went into detail in one of her books about the effect of parents, particularly with right breast cancer, and left breast is more it can be connected to emotions with relationships. But I think, yeah, definitely there's a lot of connection with emotions and trauma in one's life. So, and I can't identify at this stage. I've had a lot of trauma in my life, so I'll have to go further with that.
So I certainly would not guide you away from your medical kind of help, but there are things that you can do to help it. Do you meditate? Have you ever worked on the energy line coming down through the body, the Kundalini energy?
To a certain extent, yeah.
Working with that, you can get rid of any of those energy disturbances.
Okay.
And one that I've just started playing with, I've come to the conclusion that it's all sound now. I'm in for a big argument with lots of people very soon, but hey, but try just for the experience of it. Do you like music?
I do, yeah.
Do you like listening to nice relaxing music with kind of very nice harmonies in it, and not punk rock or anything, you know, kind of heavy metal?
But yeah, no, more into ballads and that type of thing.
So sit with your headphones on, and rather than just listening to the music, actually feel the vibration coming in. And if sit with your feet up, you kind of feel the vibration of the music coming in, and let that flow all the way down through your body so that it's playing out the soles of your feet. You can actually kind of feel the music coming out the soles of your feet. Right? And then the music is reharmonizing you, which is why you don't want to do punk rock or heavy metal or loud, angry stuff. Classical stuff. If you can get something to the 432 tuned, would be nice. But have a try, and you would be amazed how much better it makes you feel almost immediately. But you are retuning yourself with the aid of music. There's various takes on that one. I mean, you can just work on the energy line and feel it coming through your head, and where it gets stuck, you need to work on it. But the music does it for you as well. And you can actually kind of feel someone singing out the soles of your feet. Karen Carpenter's lovely. Yeah, she makes the soles of your feet tingle. She does.
Okay.
Well,
sorry, go on.
Sorry, Barry. I was going to say when that the website that I've mentioned, at the bottom of the drop-down menu, there's an A to Z aspect. If you go in there and clicked on prostate cancer, it will give you the likelihood of the original conflict that relates to the growth within the prostate.
Okay.
George, can I ask you to repeat the name of the website, please?
Yes, it's Learning German New Medicine.
Oh, it is that one. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
So if you going into that, Barry, and so it's great information in there. They'll give you the likelihood, the biological conflict that one has to experience according to German New Medicine for prostate cancer to be developed.
That Germany. Germany? Sorry?
German New Medicine. Learning German.
Right. Okay.
Learning German New Medicine.
Just on the subject of frequency, you've probably heard of Dr. Royal Rife, who created the vibration machines, and I think his frequency range, because he documented different frequencies which kill different cancer cells, and they range from 100, I think it was from 100 to 300 hertz. And I ran the pendulum over what I needed to, what frequency I needed to use to get rid of the prostate cancer, and I got 288.
Brilliant.
So I got on the net, and of all the frequencies that should be out there between 100 and 300, there was actually quite a bit of 288.
Well done.
So I've been using that as well. So the chances of that being being available for a start is pretty remarkable. So
Amazing, and a great use of the idea of frequency. You know, we can use it. David uses it with the colours aspect of it, but for the thought of it and the identification of it with the pendulum and the meter, absolutely, you can use it in loads of different ways. And so, you know, finding your own unique way of using that, something that speaks to you, is going to be key. And as I said, you know, in regards to your original question about the whole idea of how to use the biometer in such a process, it's really about identifying. You want your energy to be kept in the normal range, normal to the high range. So you can ask the question, you know, is the impact of going to be on my vibration? What's the impact of something? What effect will it have on my vibration if I do this, if I do that, or whatever? So you can actually start to, you could map out, sort of map out a routine or a structure for yourself based on what's good for your vibration and helps you to maintain it within the normal range, and what's not good for your vibration. And a lot of times we repeat patterns that keep us in a low frequency vibration because it's not for us to be in that pattern. So even if you can identify something that you do on a daily basis that brings you into a low frequency, the obvious one is something like what. Now, if you ask the question, what's the effect of me watching television on my frequency? What's the effect of that? If I watch television for an hour, what is the effect on that? If I watch the news for an hour, what's the effect on my vibration? If I did this, what's the effect on my vibration? So you start to see that we start to understand and recognize that everything can influence our vibration and our resonance. So the more in tune we are with doing what is supportive of that vibration as opposed to negating that vibration. And some of the things will surprise you. What is, what's the effect it has on you?
Yep.
So, you can, it's a great tool to even just get away from that idea, just the idea of the cancer, the tumor, taking it away from that and just looking totally at your vibration and what's affecting that. What's, how can I, and asking these questions and then aligning to the answers.
Okay.
So, John, sorry. So do you use the biometer for this? The biometer for this?
Yeah, well, you can do. You ask the question about what your vibration is now, and you can ask the question, what's the vibration now? What's the effect to be on my vibration if I watch the news for 1 hour?
Right.
See what occurs. Just a real life, and I don't know how people are on here with things regarding virus and stuff like that, as regards to what we've all been through over the last few years. But maybe some of you would agree that the that some of the information we were given out by government was very contrary or very contradictory. There was an issue to begin with about masks and mask wearing, if it was any good for virus or any good to protect us from that aspect. So my question is, or my observation, or my thing to you is to ask the question, what's my vibration? If I wear a mask for 1 hour, what's the effect on my vibration?
Right.
If I wore it for 2 hours, what's the effect on my vibration? If I wore it for 3 hours, and so on. And so we start to see that we can start to make sense of some things that we can understand, you know, from a vibrational aspect, things that we're asked to do or things that we do automatically that has an effect on the vibration of our bodies.
Right. Thank you, George.
George, can I bring in Ali? Has just asked a question.
Absolutely.
So it's about the biometer, which I think it was part of Barry's question as well. And we've been here before, but maybe we could just go over it again. So that's your biometer. And when we talked about it before, I think, am I right in remembering that we concluded that the colours we could safely ignore, they didn't really do anything for anyone, if I might be so bold as to say that. But then we've got the numbers, so it starts at 500 and the last one is 14,000, and it mercifully doesn't give a unit. So does that mean we can just use it as a scale and not really, I mean, we wouldn't be saying hertz, would we, if our normal vibration is 8, as
well, that Ali is, and it's not my biometer. I've adapted. I've used it. I was presented with the possibility of using it, and I've used it since I was, and in a particular way to understand the vibrational aspects within the body. So, as regards to the biometer, it originally was gigahertz is what the numbers are, gigahertz, around the outside. But irrespective of the gigahertz, what we're looking to do is we're looking to be in that normal range within the green sector, because that equates to the, as David said earlier on, it equates to the natural vibration of the earth, the earth's natural vibration. And we need a good connection to the earth to be, for it to support us vibrationally. So underlying everything, if we can maintain that normal vibration, then healing is a natural process within the body, which will occur if the conditions are favourable.
So if you're doing as you suggest and seeing the effect on our vibration of watching the news for an hour, it's not, our vibration isn't really going to come out of that 7,000 gigahertz, is it?
Well, you could try. You could try. Yeah, test it. And anything you can test at all. McDonald's burger. Ask the question about McDonald's burgers on the biometer. Everything has a vibration, and when we equate to the vibration where normality sits, and if we can maintain that within ourselves, then in my eyes, that's where we need to be. That's what we need to be. And anything out with that, if we're putting something in our body that's at 3,000 or 3,500 gigahertz, then potentially we're scoring an own goal. We're putting something in that will help to drop our frequency. Might not be immediately, but has the potential to do that.
Okay.
And everything affects us as people. So other people affect us. Our parents will affect us. Our children affect us. Our animals affect us. We affect our animals. So there's this constant aspect going on about the vibrational exchange and vibrational aspects. And habits affect us. The patterns of thought, patterns of feeling affect how our vibration is. And if we can identify them on a personal level, ask the question what it's doing to my vibration. If it's helping maintain the vibration, then keep doing it. If it's not, then you have a decision to make. You can, of course, keep doing it, but if you trust the process and trust your dowsing, then it gives you an insight into the frequency that you are helping to maintain yourself at.
All right. Thank you.
May I just ask a question? Is it because I haven't been able to join the cafe before? I'm not sure what you've shown us in the past, but I'm also under the impression then that you could test for your current vibration or frequency as it stands, and there's a possibility that you could fall into low. You could also fall into deficient.
Absolutely.
So then you could use the biometer to ask questions and find things that are going to raise the vibration from deficient low into normal. And is that what we're suggesting here? Sorry,
Yeah.
George. Yeah, great.
No, absolutely right. But we can do things to understand how things can affect us, Yasmina. So the idea of, watching television, is it good for us? That the idea of eating something, is that good for us? Blah, 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 blah. But when we're dowsing for healing, you can actually use the pendulum and do it remotely using the biometer as a. So if you dowsed to find the vibration of somebody that you know, and they're in the low region, you can ask your pendulum to release the energy that's taken them into the low region, release the energy, and bring it to within the normal range.
Wow.
And that process,
just by requesting it, George.
By that simple process, you can affect I call them targets, but you can your clients or whatever, you can affect the target by that simple process, by simply requesting the release of energy which has caused the low vibration and to bring it into the normal range.
Thank you.
Okay, should we go on to the last question, George?
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Richard.
Okay, thanks.
What's the last question?
This is set by
Andrew.
So this is from Andrew. Is there any consistency over the serial numbers dowsers experience when locating or measuring the areas of reaction associated with particular elements such as water and base metals? They're mentioned in books by A.B. Biometer, which you've already mentioned, George. And
Jump the gun there.
Andrew, do you want to just talk through your question?
Well, I can have a go. Yeah, I'm quite interested in, previous books that have been written about dowsing and tend to look at them, and sometimes I come across things that I think might be appropriate to what I do. And the W.H. Trinder was mentioned in the last dowsing today. So that sort of set me down that route. And you held up the book, but you can look at the Abbé Mermot is online as a PDF, so you can read the whole thing.
All right. How much does it cost online to get that, Andrew? Do you know?
No, it's free. You can just look at it online.
Oh, blimey! Well, that's great because the book itself it's an expensive purchase.
Yeah. No, just put it into your search engine, and it'll come up with various results, and one of them will be a PDF. And you just click on it, and you can work your way through it.
Oh, very good.
And from that, you can get all the serial numbers that he suggests for the different aspects.
And is that something you've used, the serial numbers?
Well, I try to link it in with what I do. I kind of operate in a different way to other folk. I tend to look at areas of prehistory with regard to where there might have been settlements, and try to link that in with particular civilizations and what they might have considered were important. But I was interested to see if there was any commonality across the forum with regard to serial numbers for particular metals, because there doesn't seem to be in the literature. It seems to vary quite a bit.
So does that mean, by what Abbé Mehmet says and what other people say, that there's a conflict between the two? What is?
Yeah, it sort of suggested that that everyone has their own sort of results, as it were, which could well be the case.
Yes.
But water seems to be quite a popular one too, I think.
Yeah.
I just wondered if there were any opinions that people were prepared to air on that, or perhaps it's just not something that they do.
Well, it's certainly I as regards that book, I spent a while reading it when I first got it, but it took me into a part of dowsing I wasn't really interested in, so I put it aside really. So I have no knowledge about those ideas of serial numbers at all.
Right.
David,
Yeah.
David wants to come in.
Yeah, I've been kind of researching numbers associated with things just recently. Basically, hertz in the human body. The variation across the board is ridiculous. Some people say we're at about 8 hertz or 10 hertz, and then if you go into the some of them say we're at 742 hertz, but then some people say that we vary down our body to about 100 and from 700 to 100. So it's rather kind of nonsensical. But if someone has a given different minerals and different like water or etc., different numbers, if you associate those numbers with what he has associated them to, and then you could work with that. But if someone else came along, they would just give a completely different set of numbers, and they can work with that. So there are all sorts of different sets of numbers all the way across the world, across the board. Then there's no real correlation between most of them, unless someone has read the book by that person and they follow that.
Yeah.
Can I speak?
Yep.
So we're talking about healing now, not dowsing, not general other areas of dowsing.
No, it's just general dowsing. It's not
dowsing.
healing at all. It's just say you had an iron ingot sitting in front of you, and you were to measure what reactions you would get from that iron ingot.
Oh yeah, the hertz. Yeah, sorry. Okay. Okay, because there's other areas for numbers, but yeah, I'll stay with the measuring the items and minerals and everything. Yeah, okay. Because I'm looking at numbers myself at the moment, but a different area. It's kind of like a replacement of map dowsing. A replacement of a map. That's all. So.
Well, I find I work a lot with flower essences, and certainly those, you know, you can actually get them into number form, but they have so many different chemicals in them. Different people will spot different numbers at different times, depending on what chemical they're looking at or what part they're looking at. And I think an awful lot of things are actually like that. If you think about water and the memories it has in it, you know, people could be concentrating on different aspects of the water without realizing what they're looking at. And it could well be the same with crystals, minerals, you know, crystals, you can program them for different things, etc. People are just looking on a different part of it. So it's very difficult for us to define and have an actual definite one definition that we all come in agreement with, if you see what I mean, because different people will concentrate on the different aspects. So numbers are all part of it. And you can do a tremendous amount of numbers, but to actually get them uniformly recognised is something else, possibly. I don't know what people think of that, but that's kind of how I see it.
Yeah, very much so. I would agree, Rosemary, totally. It's in talking about numbers. I'm digressing a little bit, but I'm talking about numbers here and how we can use numbers. And there's a fantastic method of using numbers in a desensitizing process. Would anybody be interested in knowing that? Just as a...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? Okay, grand. I don't want to, you know, as long as people are interested, obviously. So we can use numbers to desensitize ourselves from things. So for instance, if you're looking to give up something, trying to give up smoking, for instance, or trying to do, you know, I've actually used it for working with a horse. So the horse was anxious. So I gave the owner a number to use in correlation to the horse's anxiety. And don't ask me how it works, but it worked fantastically well. So what we do is we ask the question, can I use a number to desensitize myself from whatever it is? So it could be a food, it could be nicotine, it could be another drug, you know, and that's a big thing for people on a large quantity of drugs, help them coming off medication in that way. So desensitizing process, and what we do is with that number, we write it down in its numerological form, and that number could be above 1,000, it could be 10,000 or above, it could be as little as 60 or 40. So trust your dowsing. When you ask for the number, trust your dowsing, that the number that you get is the number to use. And the way I ask is, can I use a number to desensitize, or can Mabel use a number to desensitize from? Yes, she can. Okay, is the number more than 100? Yes. Okay, is it more than 1,000? No. Okay, is it more than 900, 800, 700, 600? And work your way down like that. And when you get the 100, go to the 690. Is it above 6? Say it says it's, is it 100? Sorry, is it 1,000? Is it 900? Is it 800? Is it 700? Is it 600? Yes, okay. So we get a positive swing on the 600. Go to the 690. and ask the question, is it 609? Is it above 690? Yes. Is it 699? No. Is it 698? No. Is it 697? No. Is it 696? Yes. So that's how that's how to find the number quickly for somebody perhaps within your family or even yourself. So you can find the number to desensitize from something that you're really trying to withdraw from. With that number, you write down the numerological aspects of that number, and next to it, in a list form, you write everything about the thing that you're trying to desensitize from that you know. So, you know, a list of all the things that you would know about nicotine, perhaps, or Bluetooth. I've used exactly the same method for desensitizing myself from Bluetooth. I used to be a taxi driver working surrounded in a mire of Bluetooth signaling all night long, and the headache at the end of the night was astronomical. And I came across this technique, and it was major for me. So write a list down. Now, the next point, once you've identified the number and you have your list, what to then do is ask the question to find your prescription. What's the prescription I need? So how many minutes, how many days, and for how many times a day? That's your prescription. And what you'll maybe find is that you need to use the number 2 or 3 times a day, or maybe more, for a set amount of minutes for a number of days. So you have a prescription to use a number. Now, the biggie is, what do we do with the number? Well, it's dead easy, because for that time, for that amount of times in the day, all you have to do is sit quietly with that number and the list and ponder it. Daydream on the list and daydream on the number. So if it was 1,089, I would be adding that up. What number does it give me if I add it together? I'd be looking at the shapes of the number. I'd be looking at, or if I added a 1 to the 9, that would give me 1,090. But I would say just be creative with the number and allow yourself the freedom to use that number in that particular way. And all the time, just reading and paying attention to your list that you've written down. What happens is very, very quickly, your number, the higher the number you start with is determined by the sensitivity you have to something. So if you have a high number, your sensitivity, you have an increased sensitivity to something, to that particular frequency, if I wanted to mention it about frequency. And what you'll find is very quickly after starting that your sensitivity starts to drop really quickly. And by the end of your prescription, your sensitivity will be registering at 0. And with that, you'll have used the wonderful power of your mind to desensitize yourself from something which has caused you angst or disturbance.
Can I just share something else that I learned? Very simple use of numbers. Years ago, I went on a dowsing course, and it was the first generation of mobile phones just coming in. And they said, oh, you can use a pattern. Just put it in the back of the phone or what have you, and it'll protect you from the EM that's coming out of the phone. So I did that. And then, of course, phones progressed and we got the next generation coming along. So I thought, we need a new pattern. And I kind of found a new pattern and shared that with a friend. She said, well, you need to program it with intention. It's almost there. But anyway, so I learned a bit more about intention. Anyway, I went somewhere else and they said, well, use numbers. So that's what I've done ever since. And actually, all you have to do is literally dowse and find out what number you need to stick. And I've got one on the back of my phone here, which makes it 100% safe for me to use. So you find the right number that resonates with you or whatever, and you can stick it on the back of your phone just like that. And you will then be protected from an awful lot of the EM that comes out from the phone. Incredibly simple. You do need to constantly, be happy you can dowse and do that. But, get a friend to validate it if you find you're not confident or whatever. And it's just so simple and easy.
It is.
Well, for something like a phone that we use so much of the time, it is
Brilliant. Brilliant.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
Just taking that on a step, Rosemary, because about earlier,
it's different for different people. They don't all have the same numbers, and different generations of phones may have different. I don't know. I've done it for all my family,
Yeah. But I'm saying that I'm saying we can take that. We can take that a step further with numbers as well, and the idea, the potential is that for each body part, there's a for each body part which depicts the best identity of that body part. So instead of desensitizing from something, maybe we have the potential as people to sensitize towards something. So if we have a body part that is the number which relates to its best function, if we can identify a number and in the same way use it in that way, then potentially we could be using the frequency of the number to create the best body part of an individual cell.
Lots of uses.
May I just wanted to ask you a question. So what do you feel then about, because I really believe in the power of creating vibration to sort of heal ourselves with chanting. It's just one way. So we could continuously recite the number. What would you feel about that? What's your feelings about that? I mean in relation to the body part and its highest, if we establish that the organ at its optimum, it has resonates at this frequency, and we collate the numbers for it. Is there any? Could you see that there would be some advantage to continuously reciting it?
Absolutely. However, what I would say is that I started chanting years ago, and I do the kirtan, aspect. So I've done that, and I've seen the benefit of it for myself. I've felt the benefit. What I would say is that with the idea of using numbers, I really like your suggestion, what you said, but I would encourage people that to be specific. So it's not about, this goes against the grain a little bit, but it's how energetics are best worked with. It's not about the length of time we're doing anything. It's about being specific. And what I said about using that prescription for desensitizing is very specific. Do it for 4. If the number is 4 minutes, doesn't work in that doing more is actually less.
I hear you. So what you're saying is, you could ask, I suppose there's nothing stopping us from asking, if I chant for a minute, how long should I? Okay, so it's about becoming very specific. I hear you. Thank you.
But thanks very much, Jasmine. That was brilliant. Well done. Yeah, I like that idea. Yeah.
Okay. I like to empower. I like to be empowered. I like the idea of being able to create the sound within myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just think it's very powerful and very important. I was thinking this about what forgive me because I can't remember the gentleman's name who was talking about color and sound frequency, and then we were talking about Barry. I was thinking, well, maybe Barry could he could use this, couldn't he, Barry? He could use the and find out the optimum of the prostate.
Yeah.
Or even ask what I know it sounds bizarre. It depends what your belief system is, or what you believe in, or what you don't, But I mean, he could even douse for which chant would benefit the prostate, so he could incorporate that into his meditation, couldn't he?
Can I just say that
Sorry.
just saying the words or saying the number or doing the chant, I find isn't enough. You have to treat it more like a magical spell, and you do the but you have to let that vibration flow down through the body. If you just go,
I agree.
chuck it out into the room, it might help the room, but it's not done nothing for you. You have to let it in and through you.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's almost as though you're tuning in and with your intention, because I think intention is really important as well. And so you're internalizing the vibration that you're creating. You're almost drawing it into your physical form. And I suppose there's nothing stopping you to even visualize the prostate or whatever organ maybe having, going through a process of imbalance or disharmony, or however you want to look at it. But yeah, I completely agree with you. I think there has to be sort of like a relationship. There has to be a reason why you're doing it, and an acknowledgement and an intention set. And I think that all reinforces its potential, for want of another expression.
The organ that's out of tune will have a colour, but the colour also has a musical note.
Yeah, and
if you can balance that with the right musical note, it will bring it back into harmony. If you can see the colour, you can change the colour back to the right colour, which should be a kind of indigo colour.
Yeah.
It's it's all about frequencies, all of it.
Yeah.
And sound.
Yeah, brilliant.
Thanks, David.
Well, I had 21 alternative therapies on my list before I started this call. Now I've got about 25.
Oh, how funny.
So I'll douse all those to get get a preference. So yeah, thanks very much. Been really good.
Well done, Barry. Thanks for coming on, and thanks for sharing all of that with us.
Yeah, Linda's got a hand up. Do you want to come in, Linda?
Yes, I was just going to say, talking about numbers, I did a basic radionic course for family and friends, and the Radionic Society, they use numbers for each part of the body, as well as for healing, for different remedies, etc.
Brilliant. Yeah, brilliant, Linda. And how would you use them, Linda?
Well, they give you it's a little calculator that's been doctored, and you can use that to. I've got a booklet of the numbers for all the parts of the body. They give you that, and then you use dowsing to find out which part of the body you want to work with, and then you put these numbers in the calculator, if you like.
Right.
So and really that's to help you focus, because you could do it without it, but it's to help you to focus. But they've got numbers for everything, and they obviously didn't give us all the numbers, but I've got pages of numbers for each part of the body, and all the systems have got numbers.
Thanks very much. Thanks, Linda. Richard, are we just about at the end?
Yes, I think so, yeah. Can I just say, well, thanks for everybody for coming along. We've all learned a lot today. I certainly have. And try to say to Yasmina, I know this is the first time you've been here, but all the Dowsing cafes, we record them, and they are available on the YouTube channel afterwards. So if there's anything that anybody's missed or want to look again, or the ones that you've missed, you can actually catch up on. The only thing the only thing you can't do as a non-member is actually come to the cafe and contribute, or ask questions. Otherwise, everything's available for everybody on the YouTube channel. And don't forget to like and subscribe. There's a lot.
I just want to say I'm disappointed that I may not get an opportunity to be here very often, because I really would like to be here. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to work that out, because I have a regular class. So,
yes.
But I can catch up on
regular as well on the first Monday of the month. Sorry, first Thursday of the month.
First Thursday of every
also have
month.
this talk on the third Thursday of the month. We'll try and keep that regular. We have it on the third Thursday because the Earth Energy Group has theirs on the fourth Thursday. And you'll clash with them,
So forgive me, I think I've got a bit confused. Is it the first Thursday of every month?
Yes, for the Dowsing Cafe.
Thank you. Thank you.
And
thank you very much.
Well, thanks for coming on, and thanks to everybody for coming on. I can't see everybody. I can only see you, Yasmina, at this moment in time. But for those that stayed the course since 7 o'clock, I thank you very much for coming on, and I hope you've enjoyed it, and that it's given you something to ponder, if nothing else.
Very much. Thank you.
Okay, George, thanks for hosting, and see you next month.
Are you staying on?
I'll stay in a minute. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Everyone, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
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 Bye. Meet you.
Bye.
Bye, Barry.
Bye-bye.
Good luck.
I've just turned the recording off, George. Stop recording. There we go.